Okay, today I'm going to change the oil and the air filter on the generator on my motorhome. Now there's a lot of things that I can do on my rig, and there's some things that I don't, but this is one of the easy things. And not that I look forward to doing it, but once a year I perform this. And my generator is a KY 4,000 watt generator. And the maintenance schedule on the generator itself is here. So every time you're going to use it, you want to kind of look and make sure there's nothing visibly wrong, and you want to check the oil level. And after the first 20 hours when it was new, I changed the oil. Every month you want to clean and check the battery. And the battery is the rig battery, the auxiliary batteries. And every 50 hours, you're supposed to clean the spark arrestor. And every 150 hours, you change the engine oil and replace the air filter. And out here is every 450 hours, and this is where I turn it over to the qualified techs, because they're going to replace the spark plug, the fuel filter, which is very difficult to get to, and adjust the valve lash. What I maintain, since I do everything, all of the internal combustion engines once a year, is the motorhome itself, the motorhome generator, and then my Jeep and car. So what I've written on here is everything that I need to do this. And I know I've already checked the generator hours are at 156. This is the type of oil that I need. This is recommended by Onan. I also need a 12 millimeter socket with a 2-inch extension. And previously I needed a Torx 30, which is also known as a star bit. And I've changed those out, both of those little screws, to 8 millimeter screws. And everything on here is metric. So just as with any job, we're going to make certain that we have all the tools we need. And I've gathered them all up, but I wanted to show you this Torx screw that originally was in where I need to access for the oil. And it has a star configuration. And so I had to dig around and find this Torx 30 bit. And then you put that in a little ratchet in a 1/4-inch drive. And then you were able to take out these screws. So I replaced these with hex head 8 millimeter screws. So what we're going to need is the oil, and this is exactly what I need, Valvoline 15W40 engine oil, but it says heavy duty diesel, and this is what they specified, so this is what I'm using. We also need a funnel. We need a measuring cup. Now, if I'd bought quarts, I would better be able to measure it, but since I bought a 1-gallon jug, then I need to measure it out. So what I'm going to need is a ratchet, a 2-inch extension, a 10 millimeter, forgot now what I wrote down, but I'm going to change it, a 10 millimeter socket, and then this one is a 12 millimeter socket. This is my empty jug, if I choose to use that to pour into the funnel. Need a drain pan for the oil. Gonna need a trash can. I have some paper towels out here. I have an empty jug to put the used oil in to run it back to Walmart, and then they'll recycle it. And then finally, this is the air filter. And I got this from Amazon. But as you can see, it's a Onan Cummins genuine part, so that's what we're going to replace right there. And finally, before I get started with this, I put on some grubby clothes, just in case, but surely I'm going to need my rubber gloves to keep this oil off of me. So the generator on my rig is located right here behind this door, but a couple of minutes ago I didn't mention one thing that I do take out when I'm going to take screws and stuff out. These little pill bottles are really handy because that way I won't lose them. So I take the screws out, drop them in there, and then I know right where they are. The other thing is, another use for a pool noodle. This summer I noticed bees trying to fly up the exhaust pipe for my generator. So what I did was I put a little bit of aluminum foil over there and then split this pool noodle and just wrap it around there. And since I'm going to be under here, I'm going to turn it because I don't want to hit my head on that. Now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to change the oil is open these like this, and then you can pull it out just a little bit, but then lift up because it has little tabs here that are going to set right there. So when you put it back, you just reverse the order. Now I want to point out a couple of things. This is where you check the oil, and unfortunately the start button is right here. And if you accidentally, and I've done it several times and I've seen other people do it too, you are messing with this and somehow you hit this and it tries to start and it'll shoot oil out at you. You don't want to be doing that. The other thing I want to point out is right down in here is a circuit breaker which can trip if the generator gets overloaded. If you're trying to run the air conditioner, the microwave, and a hairdryer, for example, it's going to trip this breaker. And so you should know where it is. And it's right down here, and you just flip it back into position. The other thing I'd like to point out, let me grab this flashlight. Is way back in here, behind this voltage regulator, is the fuel filter, way back in there. And that's going to be changed at the 450-hour maintenance interval. And I don't even want to attempt it. But here's the air filter, and we're going to replace that today. But the first thing we're going to do is change the oil. All right, so I'm here under the rig, and during the maintenance, you're supposed to remove this square drive plug over here. This is the spark arrestor, and I've not been able to get it out, and I've talked to some techs, and they usually don't do it, the ones I've talked to anyway, because they can't get it out, because it basically gets welded in there. So this is where we need to be. This is the oil drain port access panel. And we only have to loosen one, and then I'm going to swing it out of the way. So I'm just going to get that out of my way, put this screw so I don't lose it in my little bag there. Going to have to change over to my 12mm socket. Stick that in there. Get this loose. And then I should be able to take it out by hand. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to crawl out from under here. I'm going to take this little nut out of here. And be careful because there's a washer on it. And if you leave the washer out, it'll leak oil. And you don't want that because one, it'll make a mess. And then eventually you'll get a low oil level, and your generator will stop automatically, hopefully. And there went my washer, so I had to retrieve it out of the pan. But it's a metal washer. And this is going to take a little while to drain. So we'll let it do its thing, and then we'll come back and plug it up and then put fresh oil in it. So this is just about finished dripping. So we're going to go ahead and put the drain plug back in and then fill it with oil. So here's the drain plug, and I do have the washer on there. Make certain of that. Okay, now I'm going to snug it up with the ratchet. Okay, we're good to go. Okay, so now I'm going to take the oil dipstick / top cover, pull that out, and we're going to fill it with oil. And I have a handy dandy little bread tie here that's going to hold the funnel in place. And I've already measured out 1 quart of oil into this. And you have to take it very slowly because otherwise it's going to overflow. So you have to let it drain out. So we're going to be filling this up. And again, it takes 1.6 quarts. So this is going to take a little while. So we've put our 1.6 quarts of oil in here, almost, because I was pretty sure I couldn't drain it all, so I didn't put all 1.6 quart, maybe 1.5 and a half. So now we're through with this. We're going to put the little dipstick back in and check the oil level. So you want to wipe it off good, put it in here. Make sure you don't cross thread these. So if it feels funny, back it up and turn it backwards, and then righty-tighty. So I'm going to put it all the way in, and then take it out. And with new oil, it's pretty clear, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's just about, 3/16 of an inch below the full mark. And I'm okay with that. So we'll put this back in and we'll move on to our next project. So now I'm back under the rig. I just have to slide this little cover back into place and cover this thing up, and the oil will be complete. The oil change will be complete. So the next thing that I was going to do today was change out this air filter. It even gives you a part number, although if you download the manual, it'll give you the numbers. And I'm going to use channel locks just to kind of loosen this up a little bit because I have the weeks. Just like with most everything, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So we're going to undo this wing nut. Take this cover off. So we got the cover off the air filter, and it has another wing nut in here. This one isn't quite as tight. So we're going to take this off so that we can remove this air filter. And then this just pulls right out of here. All right. So we'll pull out this new one, and you can see that it has this rubber gasket, and that's what goes up against this wall right here. So we're going to put it in the same way. There's not a lot of room in here, that's why I'm kind of having to tilt it to get it over that stud that's sticking out. And then, got to get it lined up over that stud that's sticking out. So now we're going to put the wing nut back on. Just kind of snug, finger tight. And then we'll get this cover back on here. And then we'll stick this wing nut back on here. And I'm just going to snug it just a tiny bit with the channel locks. Just about like that. All right, so what you might have noticed that's different than on a car is that these little generators don't have oil filters. On my other rig was the first time I'd had one of these smaller generators, and I was amazed, but it doesn't have an oil filter, so don't be looking for one. I guess in conclusion, I would have to say that if you don't feel comfortable doing any of this, don't do it. This is just what I do. I'm an electrical engineer by education. I'm an electrician by training, but I'm a do-it-yourselfer by upbringing.